Hello, thank you for stopping by to take a look at Valhalla. We want to do a quick overview of the entire system for you today. Hopefully you'll find something that's of interest to you and your organization that might be able to provide some efficiencies and help with getting your work done. Let's move on to the overall mandate that we're working on at Valhalla is to uh, provide a system that allows us to work anywhere, anytime, on any device, even when we're offline. One of the big problems we have out there is in our industry, being in construction, is on occasion we're out on a construction site that isn't in the middle of civilization. Sometimes we're on roadways that are a little far out, and sometimes for a variety of reasons we might not have a signal all the time. We need to be able to work and get the things done that we need to, even if we don't have a connection. The other thing we've noticed is that we have to be easily customizable. The work that we do, we have to work with different jurisdictions. We have to work with different project demands, different client demands, and a lot of the things that we do need to be customizable so that the forms, the different reports that we have to generate, sometimes we need to be able to customize those easily. And so at the core of our system, we are very easily customizable. We also need to automate and simplify the work for everyone, not just field technicians, not just project managers. We want to make daily work easier for executives, for office administrative staff, support staff, project managers, everybody involved with the organization of a technical services operation. You also need to be able to manage reusable information that everybody needs to redo the work. This is the information about the companies we work with, the equipment we work with, the people we work with, materials, the different documents and reference materials that we use all day, every day, and it needs to be integrated with that daily work. Last thing we need to be really good at is the effective and efficient review of the workflow. Um, Workflow, getting work finished, getting it approved, completed, and checked is critical to everything that happens in our industry. Generally, the work that we do is the reliability of the information is in effect what we provide. Now let's move away from what we've got now and get right into the system itself. We're going to do a quick overview of the entire system in this podcast. We've got four major areas of the system we're going to look at and spend just a few minutes on each area and not take a whole lot of time, but it'll give you a brief overview of exactly what's going on. The first thing we'll see when we log into the system is the dashboard. Dashboards are completely customizable. We set them up for a particular type of user. They can have maps. We can have different lists of reports, administrative reports. We've got HR reports, different charts and graphs that help us do the things that we need. We can have listings. There's a listing of samples that are on their way into a laboratory, for example. We've got tests that are waiting to be completed in the lab. We can have listings for all kinds of different things. We've got little mini applications that provide us feedback. This is a gap analysis where we can kind of look along a roadway center line that's being inspected and see what's been tested, what hasn't been tested, and it gives us a real good feedback and know exactly where those are within the system, and they can, of course, take us right into the system and see what's going on there. But anyway, that's kind of what dashboards do. Um, we got a variety of different ones. We'll do another podcast at some point down the road and get into a bunch of different dashboards and the different types of things that we've created and that might be of use. And of course, we can customize these any way a particular user needs those. Next, we've got the projects tab, and this is where the quote unquote rubber meets the road. This is where the work gets done. This is where all of our projects are listed in the tree view. We can go into a project and see all of the areas of work. These are the tasks. We organize all the work that we do in a typical work breakdown structure that everybody in the construction industry is familiar with. And we label these in a way that are useful for folks. And we'll dig into that a little bit later. And as we go into these things, we'll see once you've got a task, then we go into individual inspections. And then within an individual inspection, we can do sub-reports or sub-forms as a part of that one. Here's a soil placement inspection that we've got going. We can take a materials sample, send it to the lab while we're out doing this inspection, and tell the lab what we're doing in that inspection. And we'll also do maybe some densities while we're out there, nuclear density tests. Maybe there's an NCR or an issue or a problem that needs to get resolved. We can create a form to track the issue that's been created and then follow that through and get those issues resolved and taken care of. So once we've got the sample, of course, then the sample will show up at the lab, and the lab will actually start the different tests that need to get done on a particular item. Here's a proctor, a sieve that's getting run, liquid limit, plastic limit. We've got forms for most all the tests that would need to get done in a materials testing operation. Of course, we've got different forms that we would run into in the concrete and different forms that would do all the stuff that's involved with HMA. We'll take HMA, we'll do joint cores, we'll do sample for the lab that's going into an HMA lab. And we'll select these things that need to get done, get it taken care of, and print out any reports that need to get printed out if they need to. And everything works the way you'd expect it to work. And we can customize the inputs very, very easily. And of course, we can have several ways to generate the reports once we've got the inputs in the system and we've collected the data. So that gives just a really quick overview of what happens in projects. Now let's spend a little bit of time in resources. Resources are where we organize all of the different information that goes in the system once, and we get to use it over and over again. As we mentioned, there's company information, we'll have client information, government agencies, contractors, different organizations within this company, different vendors that provide us with information or with materials and goods and services. We have a place to put in, of course, all the people that we work with. We break those down into categories, and we can go look for all of the people that we need, find them easily, and of course everybody in the resources can be found with a type ahead search. And of course go right to that individual's form, fill in the information, and any type of resource we have in the system, of course, has a custom form that we put in. The properties for the companies are obviously different than the properties for that we have for people. So this is just another area of the easy customization that we have for any type of resource that we need. If there's a new type of resource that you need for your organization, a few hours we can have that set up and pushed out into the system so that everybody on the system can uh, see the information for a new type of resource that we have in the system. Of course, all equipment that's out there, documents and information, materials, data. Here we put in information about the concrete criteria for different jurisdictions, and it's like soils criteria for different jurisdictions, for the different types of material, different aggregates for different concrete, different structural material that goes in and might get placed. We have a place to, of course, put proctor information, other specs and different information about materials that are that need to be available and used within the system. We've got training materials. We've got reference documents. This is where you can put in design drawings and specifications for the different jurisdictions. Link those in exactly where they need to be within the daily work processes, and everything is available and fully integrated exactly where it needs to be. And of course, materials that get used. We've got consumables. We've got different types of soil materials. This is actual. We're up here in the documents and information. We define materials data that provides the spec data for each material. And when we go in and look at a aggregate, we can go in and have places for the different sieve sizes, maximum and minimums, and all of the criteria that you need to define a material, and then what needs to be evaluated when we do a gradation. For example, we have information about how frequent these tests need to get done, so we can do minimum sampling and testing reports automatically. All the information that you need to have in a system all comes in easily, and it's easily customizable. Products is another thing that we use. We distinguish between materials that are used in the construction of a project and installed, and a product is a piece of result. A product would be a bridge that we're building, a ramp, a segment of roadway, a water line, a light fixture, an intersection. So here's where we can define those things. And as we go in and do work against a bridge, for example, we can go in and actually look at all of the work that's been done on a particular element on behalf of the customer. He can go look at the different parts of a project and get good information about what's going on there. Last thing we're going to look at is the dispatch part of it. This is where we can go in, and a dispatch person within an organization can go in and say, okay, I've got some embankment inspection to do. We'll go assign that to a particular individual. It shows up as an assignment now. It's created that assignment in the system, and you're given it a particular field tech, and it's provided a plan start and a planned end in time for that work to get done, and we can schedule his whole day out and move this around. Decided we have to move it to another individual. Makes the dispatch of work from a central location very easy to do. Of course, people at many projects, people are just going to create their own assignments, and they don't need to be dispatched out. But it's certainly helpful in retail situations where you've got a variety of customers calling in for small amounts of work all day, every day, and you're trying to fill those needs. That covers the basics of what we wanted to cover. A couple other things I wanted to mention on the project level as we look at a project. There's all the information about a particular project. We've got summary of the task information, a variety of different project level reports available here to print out on any given project. Information about the projects themselves. We can go in and actually look at any type of test that's been done on a project and go in and take a look at, for example, let's go see if all of the densities that were done on this particular job, and you can actually get a gradation, or excuse me, a grid or spreadsheet type listing of all of the relevant information with every column from every input on the forms, and be able to sort and filter and do what you need to do, and actually ends up being very similar to what you'd find in an Excel type situation. Next, we want to look at, we also have a scheduling component where we can kind of see what all the different types of assignments that are being done under a particular. We can collapse those and kind of just look at the start and end dates, do some scheduling for the different tasks that are going on in the project, and useful for scheduling out the work that needs to get done on a project. I'm going to project team. This is where we identify all the different resources that work on a project, not just the people and the roles that they're in, but we put in the products that are associated with this project, any reference documents that are associated with this project. I'll get put in on the project team, and that ends up making them easier to select when we're incorporating those into a particular assignment or work form. Does a lot of helps integrate all of those resources into a project and keep things running smoothly. Distribution is where we can automate the distribution of different reports. A lot of times we're generating dozens, if not hundreds, of different reports over the course of days and weeks, and it's nice to be able to automate the distribution of those reports. Here we can go in and define a list of recipients, put a standard little cover letter together, and then go select different reports that are available out of each type of task that's happening, and we'll get a list of these reports that we want. This is a list of pretty much all of the reports that need to go out on this particular project, and then we can put as many recipients there. And then we can go in and decide whether we want attachments or not. And we can decide whether or not we want to have daily, weekly, or monthly distribution. And the way this works is as soon as a report is approved, it's available for distribution. And so once a day or once a week, all of the reports that have been reviewed during that period since the last time this was sent will get distributed to the distribution list. Fully automates that process and does the things that we'd like it to be able to do. That's what distribution does. There's some invoicing that we'll cover at another time, and reconciliation that is helpful for project management, but that's a whole nother animal. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found something useful here in our little presentation that's given an overview of the Hollow system. Thank you very much.